It is my opinion that these books should be nowhere near a dollar bin, and yet you do find them there. I'm James with Midhunter Comics, and I'm going to give you 10 DC and 10 Marvel examples of books so wildly underrated, in my opinion, it's shocking. Make sure you're subscribed, like and comment down below. We're getting pretty close to giving away a 9.8 with white pages of the first Miles, Laura Kinney, or Spider-Gwen. First up, we got DC. We are going to talk about Longbow Hunters, issue number 1. This book you can easily find, and I do find it all the time, in dollar bins. This is the first appearance of Shadow. Now, I didn't finish Arrow. I'm not a huge CW fan, but I did like Arrow in the early seasons, and Shadow was pretty significant. But you don't have to be a TV show watcher to know the importance of Shadow, the half-sister of Oliver Queen. This is a major player in Green Arrow lore. And yet, I just have always felt like this book is kind of skirting by, unknown. I feel like this should be way higher than it is. Now we've got Marvel, and we're going to give you the first appearance of Azazel with Uncanny X-Men 428. So Azazel technically has been in 3 movies. Really, he was only in First Class, but he's the devil-looking version of Nightcrawler, right? We got a glimpse of him in Days of Future Past, but I think he was dead, and then we got a little bit of him in Deadpool versus Wolverine. But Azazel, that's not a nothing character at all, and yet this thing is always in dollar bins. The funny thing is, too, even if you didn't know that the book was a key, it's a particularly good Nightcrawler cover. Strange that it would wind up so low. All right. Next up, I'm giving you guys one of my real secrets here. Detective Comics 529, in parentheses, not Batman 363. This is the first appearance of Nocturna. Here's the problem. Everybody thinks Batman 363 is the first Nocturna. It's not. Now, the first Nocturna is a $20 book, and yet the real appearance is dollar bin stuff. You find it all the time. And one of the reasons, I think, is Key Collector and other sites get it wrong. They call the second appearance the first appearance, and they make no mention of this Detective Comics book. You are welcome. That's the first appearance of Nocturna. Another weird one, this one from Marvel, is ASM 559. Not only is this the first appearance of Screwball, there's a couple first appearances in here, and she's on the cover. Now, you can't play Marvel's Spider-Man, the PS4 and PS5 games, without knowing who Screwball is. And whether you like her or hate her, it's an obvious presence, and it's so strange that a first appearance with a cover winds up in dollar bins. This next one's brutal. I hate this one. Whenever I get this book in, I put like $3 on it, and I feel like this should be like 20 bucks. But I don't make the rules. Appearance of Prometheus in New Year's Evil, Prometheus number 1. Not to mention, it was not a popular book anyway, so there's less of this thing than a typical DC title would have. So it's not rare, but it's so uncommonly found. This should be worth a lot more. Prometheus made it into a lot of lists of the top 100 Batman and Justice League villains of all time. Why then is this a dollar bin book? I don't know. He's also on the cover. I don't get it. Okay, next is going to go to Quasar 17, Buried Alien. Okay, so this Quasar 17 book is cool, and I actually made a comic book fun fact several months ago about this. But basically, in DC Comics, you had Barry Allen obviously die in the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So why then, a couple years later, in a Marvel book, did we very clearly get Barry Allen confused, unaware of what's going on? Someone asks him his name, and he says, I think it's like Buried Alien or something like that. Obviously, they couldn't say Barry Allen, but it's heavily implied that that's him. And he ends up winning the race. So this Barry Allen supposed to be dead key is a super cool book, a super cool key, and it's a dollar bin book. Next is Dark Knight's Death Metal Infinite Hour, the Extreme, whatever. It's a long title. This is the first appearance of the Frazetta Batman, or Batman Lobo. We like to call him Batman Who Frags. Of all the Dark Knight's metal tie-in characters, this is the one that I think is one of the coolest and one of the most forgotten. Luckily, Prime One, maker of a lot of big third-scale statues, caught on to how cool this character is, and they're actually making a statue of this thing. That's sick, but why is this book so forgotten and not as remembered as Murder Machine and Batman Drowned and all those other ones? I don't really understand. It's a great one. Daredevil 232. It's a good cover, too. First appearance of Nuke. And the funny thing is, this is a really weird book because the 9.8 of this is like $200. It's pretty respectable. But the Raw is a dollar bin book. Whenever I see this in dollar bins, I grab it faster than lightning. This is an amazing book, an amazing character. Okay, we got to go Arkham Asylum, Living Hell, #1. So there's a couple, actually there's several first appearances in here. A couple good ones. Jane Doe, cool character already, but I'm talking about Great White Shark. You can't have read Batman comics in the 2000s and not know who Great White Shark is. And kind of like that whole New Year's Evil Prometheus, it's another one of these way less printed, way less grabbed runs. So why is it just $1? I don't know. Me and a couple friends always talk about this book like, why the hell is this thing $1 to $3? We don't know. Next is my favorite on the list. This is 1985 from Marvel, issue #2. Clyde Winchman, The Marquis of Death. Probably one of Mark Millar's, or Mark Millar, I don't know how you pronounce it, one of his best creations of all time. There's a great Comics Explained video with a lot of views that talks about this character, and the title of the video is A Character Too Powerful for Marvel Movies. And honestly, he is too powerful. It would never work. Basically, he's a character from a universe with no superheroes, but he has powers. He read a lot of Marvel comics, and he brought them into his universe. He's used in later issues to try to beat Doctor Doom, and with the snap of his fingers, he can destroy all the Beyonders in the universe. He is literally possibly the most powerful Marvel character, or most powerful comic book character ever written. And he's a really fleshed out character. So, super cool character, and this book is $1. Okay, next up is Spectre, 1, 8, or 13. So these are glow-in-the-dark covers from the Spectre Ostrander run. And I can tell you guys, from having an antique shop right across from a middle school, kids love the gimmicky stuff. They come in. I can't have enough Ghost Rider 15s. I always sell them still. Or Green Lantern 50s. Or what's another one? Max #1. Kids love glow-in-the-dark covers. They're super cool. But the Spectre stuff is super cheap and nobody knows it, and those are the best looking glow-in-the-dark covers out of them all. It's completely ridiculous to me that they get overlooked in this way, and it's strange to find them in dollar bins when all the other glow-in-the-dark covers at the time are starting at around at least $5. Those of you who come to my claim sales, you know how I feel about this one. Captain America 362. This is the first full appearance and cover of Crossbones. Crossbones is not a one-off silly villain. This is a major character in Cap Comics. He was even in the MCU. And his first and second cameos are expensive books. And they're really weak cameos. Why then is his first full appearance and cover appearance a dollar bin book? Dude, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. I feel like it's an example of people just seeing that that's his first cameo early on. No one actually reads the comics and knows that that's the bigger book. Oh, it drives me crazy. Next is Shadow of the Bat 50, the first appearance of Narcosis. This is a character I actually didn't know. A friend of mine showed me this run. It's Shadow of the Bat 50 through 52. Narcosis is one of the coolest Batman villains that you've never heard of. One of the best looking character designs too. He's like a combination of Sandman meets Scarecrow in the best way possible. And unfortunately, he dies in issue 52. And that was such a mistake because this character had legs, should have gone a lot farther. So this is one on the list that I agree probably still should be $1. I don't think Narcosis is making tracks like that, but if you can find it for $1, grab it. This is an amazing character. All right, let's go back to Marvel with Uncanny X-Men 317. This one blows my mind, like so many of this list do, but this one I understand because I do recognize that this was really heavily printed. So there's a lot out there, but this is the first appearance of Skin. Cool, but this is the first appearance also of Blink. Blink is a major, not minor, a major Marvel X-Men mutant. heavily in Days of Future Past, my favorite X-Men movie, her own series, everything. And yet this first appearance, which is a double key, you find in dollar bins. Pretty crazy to me. Next is Green Lantern 127. First, Brian Boland art in an American comic book. Hardcore Green Lantern fans know this one, but even a lot of DC fans don't know this one. For his earliest work, I actually think that's a pretty darn good cover. People don't know it. Key Collector doesn't mention it. Dollar bin book. No, no. All right, Iron Man 281. First War Machine? Question mark? This is another one of those, if you actually read the comic books, you're going to be scratching your head here, because Rhodey isn't wearing the War Machine armor, but Tony wears it pretty heavily in this issue, and it's very clearly War Machine. Obviously, we know in 282, Rhodey wears it, and that's the most expensive. Also, that's the better cover. Is that not the first War Machine in this issue? I feel like it is. I've always thought that this book needs to be resurrected from dollar bins. I've never understood it, and you can definitely find this pretty frequently. This one might be the worst from DC. I think this book belongs nowhere near the dollar bin, and yet it's like $1, $2, $3. Firestorm 58, the first appearance of Parasite Rudy Jones. Here's the thing. When you think Parasite, you think Action Comics 340. But that Parasite was a completely different character that died pretty much immediately. The Parasite we all know, the one that gets adapted into shows, movies, and continually reused, is Rudy Jones, this second Parasite. Why then is this seemingly very important character a dollar bin book? Also, I rarely find it, too, and when I do, it's in dollar bins. I think that's the most egregious one on the list. Okay, back to Marvel, we got Hulk 419. This is the first full appearance of Talos the Untamed. It is also his first cover appearance. If you read 418, which is the wedding issue, you do get Talos invited to the wedding, and you get the quickest glimpse of him ever. It's a cameo, a little bit of a weak cameo, but it counts as the first appearance if you play that game. But to me, the first full appearance is massively in 419, which is an entire issue dedicated to this character. It's not a quick cameo in some chair. It's the real deal. Plus, he's fighting Hulk on the cover. This, to me, is the real first appearance of Talos the Untamed. And yet, this thing, nobody collects it because everybody wants 418. Missing out, man. Missing out. Our final DC entry is going to go to Justice League International, number 12. First appearance of Ice. Member of the Global Guardians. This is technically the second Ice, because there was Ice Maiden, which was a one-time completely forgotten character. But the real Ice, Tara, that we all know and love, you know, Fire and Ice, this is her first appearance in JLI 12. Why is it in the dollar bins? Maybe because I think the cover is a bit ugly, but ugly cover aside, it doesn't stop the fact that this is a pretty big DC book. I mean, Fire and Ice are still getting their own solo series. Ice is such a beloved character, and it just seems really strange to me that this is so affordable. And our final entry from Marvel is Slapstick, number 1. Slapstick is kind of the Captain Carrot with the DC universe, but with Marvel. So it's a complete cartoon character with cartoon physics and cartoon rules in the Marvel universe. Had another rebooted series in 2016-17 from Marvel, and I think maybe Marvel doesn't totally know how to use Slapstick, but that doesn't mean that that's not a super cool character. I think the character is super original, and if they figured out a way how to work with it, would be really cool. Certainly She-Hulk or Deadpool with Slapstick would totally make sense. A slapstick Deadpool, I can see it so easily. Anyway, guys, I really let some secrets fly on this one. There's quite a few in here that I think are skirting under the radar for way too long. Maybe you disagree, maybe you agree. Let me know down below. As always, keep on hunting. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1. and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.